Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about all of the different times that I have had to come out, either about my sexuality or about my gender identity. Because you know how everyone says, when did you come out? Like, what do you mean, when did I come out? Which coming out are you talking about? It's not just a one-off thing that you like announce on Facebook, hey, I'm gay, and that's it. So there have been a lot of coming outs for me, and some of them have gone better than others. And I wanted to share those with you. Thought you might enjoy hearing about them. Let's get started. I went through this when I was talking about my sexuality evolution from like bisexual to lesbian to pansexual to gay man, that I started out thinking I was bisexual. And I came out to my mom as bisexual when I was 12 years old. We were just sitting on the couch and talking about stuff, and I mentioned that I had a crush on someone, and she was like, oh, who is it? And I told her, and it was a girl's name, and she was like, oh. I mean, she was taken aback a little bit, but she wasn't like mad at it. She wasn't upset with me. She was perfectly fine. She's like, well, I love you no matter what. I support you, but also please don't tell your dad right now. And I was like, okay, I won't tell my dad, because the reason why I felt uncomfortable coming out to my dad is because he's always been like, he was, at least at the time, always like hesitant to talk about gay and queer things. And my mom was a lot more chill about it, which is why I felt more comfortable coming out to my mom. And I didn't tell my dad for like 3 months when he found out, but my initial reaction was just like, yeah, it's cool, I won't tell my dad. And I was so happy that my mom was supporting, that she loved me no matter what, and I thought everything was gonna go great. And then I decided about 3 months later to come out to my crush. And she was a classmate, and we were best friends at the time. And I, in my naivete, bought her a little friendship ring. Well, it was a ring, but I called it a friendship ring, and it had a little red heart on it. And I thought that she might like it because it was pretty. And I didn't realize at the time that she was going to take it the way that she did. And she took it in a, wait a minute, are you gay? And then I wasn't gonna lie about it. I was gonna be like, yeah, I like you. I have a crush on you. I love you. I love you so much. And this was at recess. She flipped out. She walked away. She didn't talk to me for the rest of the day. I cried about it. I was like, oh my God, I ruined my friendship with her. This is the end of everything. I can't believe I did this. And then I got a call that night. My dad picked up the phone. It was her parents, irate that I would come out to their daughter. And I didn't know what they wanted. I was just like, what do they want me to do? What do they expect me to do? Say I'm sorry for having a crush on you? Like, what is their end goal for complaining to my parents that I was queer? And my dad, this was the first time my dad was hearing about it. My mom's like, yeah, Hoagie's gay. And I was mortified. I was like, oh my God, my dad knows, what's he gonna think? And they had like this phone conversation in the living room where I was like up on the stairs kind of listening in. And I was like, oh my God, what are they gonna say? Like, are they gonna want to get me expelled? Like, I was catastrophizing and being like they're gonna tell everyone, and like I'm gonna get kicked out of school, and everyone's gonna know, and they're gonna hate me. And I still, to this day, do not know exactly what it is they wanted from my parents or from me. Like, I can't wrap my head around what they would have wanted me to do. Like, would they want to force me to go to church or something? I don't know. But they called, and my parents talked them down. I cried some more about it. And then I went to school the next day, and my crush would not talk to me. didn't even acknowledge my presence. I was very reluctant to talk to her. I was like, hi. And then she just like looked away and didn't acknowledge me. That was devastating. And for about a month, she was very cold to me. She wouldn't talk to me unless she had to. And then she just started like being like, well, I like Hoagie as a person and I don't really want to not talk to him. So I guess I'll just start talking to Hoagie again. And I was like, oh my God, she's talking to me. Oh my God, my life is not over anymore. And we became friends again. And her parents still had issues with me. Like, my crush would invite me to her birthday party and stuff like that. And then her parents would just like be very cold to me. They'd be very chill with everyone else, but they did not enjoy my presence for years. And it wasn't until like high school that her parents were like, okay, I guess we can be accepting of Hoagie, and thanks a bunch. But so far since then, we've fallen out of touch. We don't talk. We're not friends on Facebook. I don't know what she's doing right now. But it was a lot. I was 12 years old and it was a lot. Now, my dad had just found out because of the phone call, and he wasn't mad at me. He didn't yell at me. He didn't like have a problem with me. He just didn't talk about it. Like, I felt really awkward bringing it up, so I didn't bring it up. And then he just wouldn't talk about it. Like, I felt comfortable talking about gay stuff with my mom. And like, my mom and I went to Rainbows Fest. We went to gay events and saw gay plays and stuff. And my mom was super chill, but my dad did not want to be involved with any of that. And it was hard because I wanted my dad to be just as supportive as my mom, and he wasn't until like right before college, maybe a couple of years before college. And he something changed, something flipped in his brain or in his mindset, and he just started supporting me. I don't know if he had a talk with my mom or if he had a talk with God or something, but he became way more supportive. He became very interested in what I was doing, like, because he had like backed off. He was just like, I'm just not going to talk about or be interacting with whatever Hoagie's doing. And then he became a lot more invested. He talked to me. We had heart-to-hearts. We were both dealing with mental illness, and we kind of bonded over that. And he was supportive for the rest of his life. He was great. I love my dad. He got over it. I don't know what did it, but he was fine with it after a while. He was supportive. He was just a very supportive person. I love my dad. He was great. Now, things were pretty uneventful for a few years. It wasn't until the summer between 8th grade and freshman year of high school that I ever came out to anyone else. See, like, I had a friend who got into this idea that she wanted to play gay with me, that we would walk around recess arm in arm. We would say we loved each other. We would hold hands. We would say we were gay for each other. And for her, it was a joke. And for me, I was having a lot of conflicting feelings because I was just like, oh, I mean, I liked her as a friend. I didn't have a crush on her, but I liked her as a friend. And I was just like, is she ever going to find out? Like, is she going to feel betrayed? Like, what do I do? And I tried to come out to her a couple of times. I was just like, no, you don't get it. I'm actually gay. She's like, really? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, really? And I'm like, no, I'm just kidding. I backed out many times trying to come out to her. And it wasn't until that summer after 8th grade that we were walking around in an indoor swap mart with her mom, And I don't know what brought it up, but I was just like, you know how we like do that thing where we pretend that we're gay? Well, actually, I am gay. I like women, girls. I don't know how to tell you this without you being upset, and I don't want you to be upset, but like, I'm actually gay. And she was originally, she was okay with it. She was like, oh, okay. Do you like me? And I was just like, you're not my type. And of course she was just like, what do you mean? But I thought it was fine. I thought everything was going to be cool. And then I get to 9th grade, freshman year, and I see her again for the first time. And she's just she was a very mean person. She was angry. She was mean to me, and I didn't know what changed. And I don't know if it was because I was gay or if it was some other reason, but I feel like she was dealing with some denial, being like, oh my God, I pretended I was gay with a gay person. Like, what does that mean? And I hope that, like, maybe it wasn't about me being gay, but she definitely turned into a different person. And so we broke up about it. And I was convinced at the time that it was because I was gay. And so I told some other friends about it. I was complaining about it with my friends group. And I was like, you know, I feel so bad. Like, she's one of my best friends, and like she's really mean to me now, and she won't talk to me. And is it because I came out to her? And like, I wasn't thinking at the time. I was just like, this seems to be the reason, and I'm upset about it. And let's just say it wasn't the best idea to do that, because three of my friends, they were not chill with it. Excuse me. They were not chill with it. I had a friend who was Mormon, and we'd been friends since like 5th grade, and I kind of had a crush on her, and she was my best friend at the time. And she basically went home that night that she found out, found some worksheets from her school, from her church, from her parents, and brought them to me, and was just like, this is what my religion says, and I can't be friends with you if you're going to continue your deviant lifestyle and your sinful lifestyle. And I was distraught. I was just like, she literally just handed me like a paper that says I can't be friends with you. And I cried about it. I did a lot of crying. And in choir, we used to sit together. We were sitting right next to each other, and she refused to sit next to me. She moved to a different row, and I was just like, oh my God, she hates me. She's never going to talk to me again. And it is a trend that eventually all these people who I came out to, who had a problem with me, eventually just like decided that it didn't matter, and they became friends with me again. And by senior year, we were sitting together again. But it was really tough. It was like coming out to my crush all over again, because I valued our friendship so much, and I was gutted. And it wasn't until a couple months later when she was eventually like, okay, I guess I can talk to Hoagie again. Hoagie is not trying to hit on me or do something to me. And I was just like, why would I? I'm a normal person. But there was her, and then at the same time, my another friend, she found out about this. She wasn't there when it happened, but she heard from a third party that I was gay, and she came up to me one day after school, and she was just like, hey, look, I heard that you were gay, and I can't be friends with you anymore. Sorry. I was like, okay, this is sudden. What brought this on? And she's like, I just found out that you like girls, and my parents won't let me be friends with you anymore. I was just like, great. Fuck. And so I lost even more friends, and I was not having a good time. I was dealing with mental illness at the time. I was not medicated at the time, and it was just a really tough time. It was a very depressing time in my life. And but like a semester later, by that time, we were talking again and we were friends again. Same thing with my other friend. Like, we all ended up being friends again. And we've all since lost touch since high school, which is fine. I didn't really have a lot in common with them. And for that friend who said she couldn't be friends with me anymore, I kind of ruined that friendship because of my mania, and I still regret that. I ruined a lot of relationships when I was in high school, and I regret every single one of them. So I'm sorry. Now, for my gender identity, I realized I was non-binary in, I believe, 2014. I was 22 at the time. I was still in college. I spent like 7 years in college. I got my bachelor's degree finally. And I was talking with a friend in class, and they mentioned that their partner was non-binary. And I knew what that was, but like, I never actually known someone who was, and that friend ended up being non-binary at the same time. But they said that their partner was non-binary, and for some reason, it just like clicked in my head that that made sense for me, that I did not feel like a woman, that there was something different with my gender identity. And for years I identified as non-binary. I have that video that I'll link in a card. But I don't know. It just hit me that that's what I was, and I felt so freed. I was just like, oh my god, this makes so much sense. I have to tell everybody. I told people on Facebook. I told my parents that night. I don't know why I thought that was going to be fine. It ended up being fine, but I didn't know. I didn't even think at that time that anyone would have a bad reaction. Like, I don't know why. But I told my parents that night. They were very supportive. They didn't really get it. I hadn't changed my pronouns at the time. I told them I wanted to be called Hoagie instead of my dead name, and they kind of already did that. But they didn't realize that it was trans. They didn't realize that I also identified as a transgender person, because, I mean, but when I bought this flag, that was when my mom first asked. She's like, oh, what flag is that? And I'm like, it's the trans flag. She's like, why do you have it? Like, because I'm trans? And she's like, wait, really? I'm like, yeah, I'm non-binary. I don't identify as the gender that's on my birth certificate. Like, that's trans. She was like, oh, I had no idea. That's so interesting. And then she ended up being chill with it. My dad ended up being chill with it. And I don't know if they would have taken it differently if they had immediately known, like when I first came out to them, that I was trans, and not like months later. But they were fine, and they supported me for the rest of their lives. They never really got my pronouns right. I was using they, them pronouns for years, and they never really got those right. But they tried. I have to say they tried. They did throw me the whole, like, well, you know, I've known you as something else for like years and years, for 22 years. Like, it's hard for me to change that all of a sudden. I'm like, okay, fine. I love you. You guys are great. It's okay. For anyone else, it wouldn't have been okay, but for them, it was okay. Now, my roommate, Gina, I love her so much. I love you. But she knew before I did. It was so funny. Like, I had talked about how he, him pronouns were also acceptable, even though I defaulted to they, them. But then, like, when people would use he, him pronouns, I would be very euphoric about it, more so than they, them pronouns. And this was after my parents died during like the panini, and I was slow on the uptake, but she was just like, you follow these FTM subreddits and you relate to them. You relate to male characters and not really any female characters, and like she had this whole list of stuff that she already knew about me. And so when I came out as FTM, she was just like, yup, figured that. And like, I wasn't mad at it. I wasn't like, I didn't need her to be like, oh my god, that's so awesome. I mean, her reaction was just, it was perfectly fine. It was very her. And she has been my biggest supporter. Her family has been my biggest supporter. They still struggle with my pronouns, especially her parents. But they're 100% supportive of me. And I feel so blessed and so loved. And I am just in a really comfortable spot with people respecting my gender identity right now. And I came out to my doctor, which was my most recent coming out, a couple weeks ago. And I was just like, hey, the next time you see me, I might be on testosterone. And she was just like, why? I was like, I've told you this before, but I don't think you put it in my file. But I am, in fact, a transgender man. And she was just like, oh, okay. I didn't know what that meant. I don't know what I was supposed to read from that, but she put it in my file. And hopefully the next time I see her, I will be on testosterone. Cross your fingers. There's going to be a video about that. My first endocrinologist visit. It's going to happen. So that was all the coming outs that I have experienced, at least the major ones. I do want to let you guys know that things do get better. They really do. And if you're in middle school or high school and you feel like none of your friends are going to be accepting of you, or they haven't been accepting of you, just know that it could just be their parents. It could be what their parents are telling them and what their parents are making them do. Once they graduate or they move out or they go to college, they can start, formulating their own worldview and without feeling crushed by their parents' opinions. And maybe they'll come around and know that so many other people in your life are going to love you exactly the way you are, and keep fighting because it's worth it. That's it for the video. Thank you for watching. If you like my content, consider liking and subscribing. I put out new videos every Wednesdays and Saturdays. And I hope you enjoyed today's video. I will see you guys next time. Mwah!